Welcome to the ChadBurn Show. I am your host, ChadBurn, and as always, running the behind the scenes, the wonderful Julien Renvoise. Julien, say hi to the people from out there. There he is, folks. So today we have a special Super Bowl episode since it is a Super Bowl weekend. Wanted to get together a special co-host for this show. We have lined up for it our co-host. We also have a special interview we'll be doing in the middle of the podcast, hitting on Kobe, which is obviously the tragic news that needs to be covered. And then finally, a Super Bowl preview. So without further ado, I will introduce my co-host for this episode, Dillon Fields. Hello, Dillon.
Hello, Chad. Thanks again for having me.
Dude, my pleasure.
Big fan.
I know, man. This is our third episode together now?
Yeah, third. It's third of many, hopefully.
Dude, I mean, I just can't seem to get rid of you. You're always coming back, so. But no, we had to obviously bring you on. This was a special episode we're doing. The Super Bowl is this weekend, which is exciting. But obviously, I want to start with the news of this week, the tragic news. We obviously lost a legend in Kobe Bryant, his daughter Gianna at 13 years old, 7 other people on the plane, including 2 other children of 13 years who were on Gianna's basketball team. Absolutely tragic, but I think it's important because obviously I finished my episode before this news came out. I think we need to kind of talk and unload because the impact it had on people was shocking, considering we don't know Kobe, and yet it was so impactful to all of us that watch sports. So I'm going to ask you, Dillon, man, and I'll go in as well as for myself, but what did he mean to you as a player, as a person in your life, really?
I've always been a big basketball fan, not as much as football and baseball, but it's incredible the impact that Kobe has had on our generation because he just exemplified the NBA. And we grew up with him as being the star of all stars in sports. He exemplified hard work and dedication. Obviously, I don't know him, but the respect that other players in the league have for him just shows what he meant for the game. And it's really raw. He's not the first superstar player to pass away, but to have him die in this way at this age, he wasn't part of our dad's generation. He was the star of our childhood, and the NBA players who are the best in the league right now, he was the star of their childhood. So it really hurts to lose someone like that, and to have him lose his daughter as well in that fashion. It's just devastating. So obviously it's upsetting for us and for everybody, and obviously for his family. So it's hard. It's hard pill to swallow.
Dude, and what's shocking to me is just I didn't realize how much I'd care. Like we obviously have celebrities pass away all the time, but I remember you were the one that actually sent me the article. You're the first one like, hey man, like I think Kobe died. And I first off said like, no, that has to be a joke. It has to be a prank. It has to be a hoax or some sort. And to find out that it's legit, like he actually passed away, and the fashion in which he did it and with other people on the plane and whatnot, it really was incredible. And like I felt something, man. Like I really, like all of a sudden, like I almost teared up because it's just like you said, we saw him our whole lives. He was impactful, like especially for our generation. We watched him all the time. We hated the Lakers because of him, especially because we were on the East Coast. And I think it's just incredible how much he impacted, and also just so young, 41, man. Like that's crazy.
Yeah, unbelievable. 41 years old. It's, if he had so many years left, and he would have had such a big impact on the NBA for years to come. So that obviously hurts. But, it's just the little things. I grew up, crumpling up paper, throwing it into the trash can. You yell Kobe, I
love seeing those memes, man. I love people talking about that. Like, make sure you throw something, yell Kobe, because it's so true.
That's obviously before he even passed away, that's just what you did. And that's because he really transcends not only his sport, but sports in general. And there's only a few athletes out there that have transcended their sports. Him, LeBron, maybe Derek Jeter, Tom Brady. These guys transcend their sports, and Kobe was certainly one of those athletes.
Yeah, man, it's just crazy. And like to see how LA has reacted, like you literally see people on the street just crying because he represented LA. And I think it was cool because I remember I was hearing one of his interviews, because obviously right now on social media there's so many videos from all his interviews, from all the talks he gave. And one that really stood out to me was he was talking to players about how, like, when he came to the league, he didn't, he had a 40-inch vertical. Like, he wasn't really the best jumper. He didn't have big hands, like all this stuff that he had to do to become a great player. Like, he had to work harder than most people because he wasn't like a freak like LeBron. Like, LeBron's a freak, and you could see why he has so many advantages in the game, where like Kobe had to develop that. And I think we relate to that hard work.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's what everyone says about Kobe, is that he is the hardest working player on the team, on the court, and that's what made him, the best in the league. He won three consecutive championships, and then 2 consecutive championships later in his career, and that's not easy to do. I mean, LeBron would have been the best athlete in whatever sport he'd wanted to play.
Right.
And he just has that kind of body. But Kobe put in the work, and he was the best because of his talent, his shooting. That's what really made him who he is. He didn't have the physical traits to dominate everybody else, but he really put the work in to become the best at his profession. So you have to respect it.
And we're gonna be listening to an interview later, but like we talked about this as well with my guest, is that the international level which Kobe was, like he was an ambassador to the world. Growing up with traveling around Europe, speaking Italian, speaking many languages, like. Not many basketball players can do that come from the States.
Yeah, I mean, I think he spoke 4 languages. I mean, that just shows
something like that. It's crazy.
What a cognitive guy he is.
Yeah, and I knew he was at least fluent for sure in Italian. I think he had French down a bit, Spanish. I can't remember the others, but I know, like he was always practicing. And even if he couldn't speak it, like he still tried in interviews to speak whatever language the interviewer was speaking to him. And I give credit. I mean, no one's doing that in the NBA right now, unless they come from Europe.
No, he was a global ambassador for the NBA. For sure.
Yeah, it's absolutely crazy. I wanted to also kind of like say to you, like I didn't know like for you, but did you have like a Kobe jersey and everything growing up? Did you ever or was he the villain always? Because I'm curious on that.
No, I didn't have a Kobe jersey. I had my Michael Jordan jersey from when I was real young, and then I had a Patrick Ewing. I didn't have a Kobe since I was, obviously.
But was he
a Knicks
like a
fan.
villain? That's me.
Kobe was
the
the
villain?
nemesis, not But I respect him obviously.
That's me. Like he was always in my eyes the villain. Like okay, so like because obviously like I'm a Sixers fan now, but that's because when the Nets left New Jersey, I stopped following them. But I grew up a big New Jersey Nets fan, and I mean the finals where we played the Kobe and Shaq each time, like it sucked. They just beat us every time, and it was brutal. Like I hated him and the Lakers for that. I respected him obviously as he went on, but my early memories of Kobe was he was always the villain for my teams. It's like hilarious.
Because he was so good. So
no, I mean that's the thing. You hate greatness. What I think he had a quote where they're like, people like good, they hate great, and it's so true, man. Like we always hate greatness. Yep. Yeah. No, 100%. So I'm gonna say, continuing on the Kobe discussion, and then to focus on our basketball. I want us to, as I alluded to earlier, I want to listen to a special interview we did earlier today for this show. So because we're talking about Kobe right now, I thought we'd take a second and listen in. All right, folks, it is now time to bring on our special guest for this episode. Joining us today is the co-host of the Too Smart Dummies podcast, part of the Too Smart Network. I am a huge fan of this show, and if you need any basketball knowledge, that is definitely the show to listen to. They drop their podcast every Tuesday, and you can listen to it as well as their other shows and special content on TooSmartNetwork.com. Again, that's TooSmartNetwork.com. Now, without further ado, B. Reed, how's it going?
Good, man. I appreciate the intro. Excellent.
Of course, man. Like I said, we are fans, so it's a real honor for us to have you on.
I like that Eagles in the background, too. Even though we're a basketball podcast, I'm a diehard Eagles fan.
That's what I mean, man. I know we had a lot of talks about, obviously, the Eagles and their season. So, I thought I'd keep focused on basketball, but glad to hear that as well. So, man, I will go right into our first question. So this will a little more somber, but you and your co-host, Marcus, recently had an incredible episode talking about, obviously, the tragic loss of Kobe Bryant, his daughter Gianna, and 7 other individuals, including 2 teammates of Gianna, both 13 years old. I think you both hit the nail on the head on how emotional this loss was, and wanted to start this off by asking, why someone like Kobe Bryant, who many of us did not know personally, why was his death so impactful to us all that watched the game of basketball?
Oh, yeah. I appreciate you listening to the show also. But yeah, man, it's like what we talked about on the podcast. I think a lot of the reason why it's so impactful for me and a lot of people in my age group is because we grew up with Kobe Bryant. I mean, we saw Michael Jordan. We all know the legend of Michael Jordan and Magic Johnson and those players. But Kobe has a different type of impact. But because he's I would say the first great Hall of Famer that my generation saw come into the league and grow up. I mean, we heard about him at Lower Merion, but we saw when he was in the gym committing, you know what I mean, saying that he was going to go pro, which was kind of an unprecedented thing because he's the first guard to go pro straight out of high school.
Wow.
Yeah, before you only had Moses Malone and Kevin Garnett. He's the
It was the
first
big
guard.
guys,
Like
yeah.
that's something that had never been done before. You know what I mean?
So
Um,
tough.
Yeah, so you had that. We saw him, when he dated Brand. Like we grew up, we saw him the air balls against Utah, I believe it was. Like
Oh
we
my
saw
God.
him grow from a player that was coming off the bench, all
Yep.
the controversy, his highs, his lows, and it just built a connection. Whether you hated Kobe, you love Kobe. Whether you hated the Lakers or loved the Lakers,
Yeah.
you grew up knowing Kobe for the better part of 20 years. I'm 36. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
20 years, all I know is Kobe, whether I liked him or not. So I think that's why it was so much of an attachment.
No, totally agree. And I mean, it's funny that you brought that up because I totally forgot he was the first guard to come in out of high school. And I mean, seeing his work ethic, the way he represented himself, like you said, highs and lows, going through even the Colorado scandal, we saw him become a better person after that. It is amazing how much of us attach to him and his real story.
Yeah, this the growth of a person. Watching a
Yeah.
person just grow in the media, in the spotlight, and I would even say the way he handled it was great. I
Yeah.
mean, you know what I mean? He showed his emotion. He was kind of an open book. Whatever was on his
Yep.
mind, he was blunt. He would say it. He didn't care if people liked him. You know what
Hmm.
I mean? It was
Yeah.
just you saw, I believe, his true personality. A lot of people give you coach speak. You know what I
Right.
mean?
Yeah,
And
exactly.
you didn't always get that from Kobe, just the stories, and he was emotional. You saw it, you knew how he felt,
Hmm.
whether he liked you, whether he didn't like you, and that just builds a respect.
Yeah. And most of the time didn't like you. So that was
Yeah, I mean,
good.
if you weren't like him and didn't have that
Yeah.
same drive to win and compete, and that's not what he was for.
No, man, yeah, you had to show up every time and give 100%. Like that was Kobe. I think we also like that too, the work ethic, man. Like really the behind that, like how much he worked to become a great player. I think so many people can relate to that and like normal life.
Yeah, I mean, but we grew to like that because
Yeah, it's
before that wasn't something like we know about Jordan's work ethic, but that wasn't the thing that was heavily publicized.
Right.
But you knew about Kobe, like basketball stars are always like famous. They're not like football stars, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
They're in the spotlight. They're actual stars because you see their faces.
Yeah.
So you're used to them going and partying and going and being in the spotlight. And Kobe was a player that wasn't about that. He wasn't about being in the spotlight. He was about working, being in the gym. And that was that's part of the reason why him and Shaq stayed into it. You know what I mean?
That's I mean, we went through all of it. I mean, yeah, 100%. I completely couldn't agree more. And I want to go to our next question too. So, like in your show, you also alluded to how Kobe was really just getting started in his new life post basketball. And I encourage those listening to hear more about this on the recent episode Mamba Mentality. But for now, could you explain more about that? How even after a Hall of Fame career and all the accolades from his playing days, how you felt there was a lot more to come from Kobe, and unfortunately that we won't be able to see anymore.
Yeah, I mean, we were just talking about how much he worked. He dedicated his life to basketball. I mean, some of it to his family too, because that's part of the reason why he was taking helicopters to spend more time with his family. But he was
Right.
so dedicated to the game of basketball, putting his all in basketball. If you truly think about it, Kobe's 41. I mean, 18 years in high school, 20
Yeah.
years in basketball. That's 38 years in basketball, in one sport, playing and dedicating everything to it. We only got Kobe 2.5, 3 years outside of basketball. It's just like you in life when you're trying to figure out what you want to do to impact the world. It takes you time. Like
Yeah.
Kobe had just retired and had just really started to settle down and figure out how he wanted to impact basketball. Even with the Mamba Academy that he's created, like that's to help future stars, help people develop. He was integral with women's sports because his daughter was getting really into it. He was bringing a light to that. There's really no limits. We say that, but there was no limits to what Kobe could have done as being an ambassador to the game. Because he's also, as I said, we grew up with Kobe. International basketball grew up with Kobe.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Michael Jordan and Magic and the Dream Team, they sparked it, but the growth of the international basketball is directly related with Kobe. Like they grew up with Kobe as being the biggest star in the NBA. So for the growth of the NBA, Kobe would have been big. You know what I mean? His family only had him for 3 years. He was trying to integrate, family life and growing basketball. But if you read anything about Kobe, he was all about growing the game and growing players and teaching players. That's why you see so many players around the league like Tatum and Kyrie Irving and Spencer Dinwiddie just hurt and broke down because of Kobe lose. Because he behind the scenes, everything he's been doing is kind of behind the scenes, but kind of how he breaks down the game. You got to think.
Yeah.
You always say hard work beats talent if talent doesn't work hard. Well, what happens when hard work is talented as Kobe? You get Kobe. You know what I mean? But he spent hours in the gym breaking down film. You saw him on the ESPN Plus thing where he's breaking
the details,
down players.
Oh, it's crazy. It's amazing the level he could go at.
Yeah, so I mean, when you just see how he sees the game from his eyes, there was no limits to what he could do. I mean, even eventually getting into an organization, being able to build dynasties, I don't think he would have gotten to something like that until after his daughter had made it to high school.
Yeah.
But you know, he was still trying to find himself. That's basically what I was trying to say.
No, I totally agree. And in my mind too, when I was listening to what you guys were saying, I thought like what first clicked to me was like, what if, I mean, he could have been a coach, he could have been a GM. I mean, just think about what he could have done in that league. And your ambassador point as well to grow it. I also thought he could have been, like we were saying, so integral to the women's basketball sport. Imagine if he had been a part of like doing the WNBA and like been able to coach or help recruit for them, help fight for better salaries. I mean, it's a shame. I think there was a limitless thing that we could have seen from him. It would have been incredible.
Yeah, man, and that's the one thing. Even before that, I mean, it's kind of funny because WNBA players was kind of complaining about him like a couple of weeks before this tragedy happened.
Really?
Yeah, they were saying like he's talking about the game of basketball and how it is for his daughter, but at the end of the day, Gianna is Kobe's daughter, so she's gonna have a different level of scrutiny than anybody else because she's gonna always have the attention. And they were wanting him to embrace their struggles and not, relate it to what Gianna's going through because she always have the backing of Kobe Bryant, and that's not what every female basketball player has. You know what I mean?
100%. No, so true. I mean, it really, the tragedy itself is that because we got to see him for so long and that his life was cut so short. The children involved, the Gianna's future, we could have seen she was going to go to UConn, play under Gina Oriama. I mean, her future as well, we didn't get to see blossom because she could have been a hell of a player too.
Yeah, I mean, and that just makes it so much more tragic. You lost a legend and a star in Kobe Bryant, but in that, you also lost 3 children. You know what I mean? And that just heightens. Not only did you lose 3 children, you lost one of Kobe's children. You know what I mean? So it's just a piling on effect of that tragedy. I can't think of anything that's been that tragic in my lifetime.
No, because the thing, most of the time when we have a celebrity death or pass away, it's the celebrity. It's happened to them. And a lot of times if it's cut short, it's them alone. We've seen the car accidents of celebrities, we've seen stuff like that, but it's never been, a family event with kids on the plane. So it breaks the heart, but obviously, our condolences, our heart go out to their family and everyone that's affected by this tragedy. It really, really is heartbreaking. But I'm going to now move away from that because we had some time to talk about it, unload. We've had the whole week. We've now seen the Lakers finally have their tribute last night. But I'll move away from the death of Kobe, and thank you, B. Reed, for sharing your thoughts. I do want to turn to the NBA now in the league. I would be remiss to not get your take on the 76ers.
Yeah.
I did hear in your show, you guys are talking about the trade deadline and what the Sixers need to do to trade. And you were comparing Embiid, Joel, and Ben Simmons, and you guys were saying to trade Embiid, Joel at the deadline. Now, I need to know more about this thinking because the people in Philadelphia, the Philadelphia faithful, will call you crazy for such a suggestion.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think I mentioned it on the podcast. Joel is the personality, so to trade him would be, it would be impact. You know what I'm saying? That I think he's probably the biggest personality that Philly's had since Allen Iverson. You know what I mean?
100%.
But if you guys remember, when Allen Iverson came, Jerry Stackhouse was pretty popular in Philly. Yeah, they weren't winning, but you had to let him go in order for Allen Iverson to reach his true potential. Sometimes 2 stars just don't mesh. And what I've seen from the Sixers these past couple of years is, players can grow. Let me say that. I understand that players can grow, players can develop. But if you look across the NBA throughout history, guards that don't shoot very rarely develop a jump shot until they're unathletic.
Yeah, exactly. Until they can't go to the hoop anymore. Exactly.
Yeah. They don't say, hey, you know what? I need to shoot. You know what I'm saying? Jason Kidd didn't get a jumper until he just completely really couldn't move that well anymore. As long as they can get to the basket with ease, they're not working on their jumper. And that's a problem for Philly. because the spacing, that's what I don't like about the team. Like, we can go stats. They get their stats. They're entertaining to watch. I mean, they were a fadeaway jump shot probably from getting to the finals last year. I acknowledge that. So it's not like this whole system is broken.
Right.
But what I look at is it's a struggle. There's nothing at ease, and this could just be a coaching situation. I don't see the spacing that you would like to see from an NBA team in that talent. With him on the court, then you can pack the lane because he can't shoot. If you pack the lane, that takes away the effectiveness of Joel Embiid.
Right.
I think they clash in what they are both most effective doing, and that's being in the paint. Even if you do what they want to do, and they've talked about doing, as putting him as like a power forward in the paint, it still packs the lane and it makes them so much more easy to defend. And they don't have the level of shooters that you need around them. Josh Richardson is good, but he's streaky. Tobias Harris is streaky. You got some other people that can shoot the ball, but they they don't have proven resumes where you know that they can get it done. I think they made a mistake by trading Dario Saric and Robert Covington for Jimmy Butler. I think they fit with that team way better than what they got. Even Jimmy Butler. I think that Elton is building his team like he's playing 2K.
Just getting superstars.
Yeah, but I mean, I don't think they would do it. I'm just saying if they were to do it, Joel would be the one to go, because you see Ben Simmons. I don't think that Ben Simmons being there affects Joel Embiid's game as much as Joel Embiid affects Ben Simmons' game. He's a lot better when Joel Embiid is not on the court, because he's essentially 7 foot that can handle the ball. He can play positions 1 through 5.
Yeah.
And I think he's a lot better without Joel in the paint.
No, I mean, that's the thing. We've seen him actually get through, and I would agree that while Joel Embiid has been injured with the finger injury, and now obviously he's back in it, I think they're kind of meshing in. But during that stretch, I saw Simmons take on a bigger leadership role and really start being way more aggressive than when Embiid is there. I mean, his drives to the paint, his tenacity to get there, and that was what I was saying. Is I was watching it was a couple of games where I couldn't believe that. People are saying like Trae Young should be above go for the starter over Ben Simmons, and I thought Ben Simmons should be the starter because Ben Simmons showed me on both sides of the court, in both defense and offense, he can be a game changer at all times. So I do agree that I think Ben Simmons is coming to his own when you don't have Embiid there. The problem is, like we said before, I mean, I don't know if no one ever trades superstars, and that's the problem. And like we'll see if they're willing to bite the bullet and trade one of these guys in order to make the team better.
Yeah, but the reason why people don't trade superstars is because you can never truly get value for what the star is. Yeah. But if you're gonna trade a player, you're gonna get the highest level of value early in their career where teams still have control of it.
Right.
When you wait until after the 7-year period where teams really can't control the contract, then you're not going to get the value that you want from them. Every team that has gotten great value for their players, they've traded them young, because you have to get value because other teams can control them. And what I'm saying is the reason why I would trade Embiid is not only because it allows Ben Simmons to be more versatile. It's easier to build around a guard like Ben Simmons than Joel Embiid. And Joel Embiid, I mean, you can't depend on him when it comes to injury. When you get down to the stretch, you don't know what happens. Every time he falls, everyone holds their breath.
Yeah, 100%.
So I mean, like I said, I don't think they would do it, but I mean, I would be calling OKC, or if I'm OKC, I'd be calling Philly, because OKC has the most amount of draft picks in history. They have young talent over there, and they have players that would fit around Ben Simmons right now. I mean, if you could go out there and you could get a Shai Alexander, or a Gallinari, and some of those draft picks, even if you can replace him with Steven Adams and Gallinari and some of those draft picks, I think that team would be just as good. I don't even think they would miss Joel Embiid, besides for the personality and the star power. I think it would be a good trade for both, although I don't think they would do it. I'm just looking at as far as what would make that team better, because I don't like the mix of players that they have right now.
Yeah. Well, I totally agree. I think we're going to end on that with a hot take, because I think that's perfect for us. Send that around. We use that little clip, like, send Joel Embiid away. No, but
get him out of here.
Yeah, right. But no, B. Reed, I want to say thank you so much for coming on. It's been an absolute pleasure having you talk a little Kobe and a little 76ers. And I hope that we can do this later down the road again.
Yeah, man, I definitely appreciate you having us on. I hope you can come over to the show and tell us how we're completely dummies for wanting to trade away one of your guys.
I'll fight for Embiid. I'll fight for him. That's for sure.
All right, I definitely appreciate you having me on, man.
No, thank you so much, B Reed. And remember to everyone else listening in, if you want to catch more of B Reed and his host Marcus on the Two Smart or Dummies podcast, make sure to check it out at twosmartnetwork.com. Again, twosmartnetwork.com. Thanks
Appreciate
again.
the plug.
You got it, man. So again, I want to thank B Reed for coming on to talk about both Kobe and the 76ers. It was an awesome interview. Hopefully we get to hear more from him later on in the year. But now we did get to go through kind of what Kobe meant to us, talk a little basketball, getting back in it with my co-host here, Dillon Fields. It is a Super Bowl special episode, so we need to talk Super Bowl. This is what we've been waiting for. Are you ready, man, for the Super Bowl weekend? Are you excited?
I don't know if I'm ready. It's snuck up on me this year. Super Bowl's the greatest sporting event in the world, so obviously I'm excited. I can't believe in 24 hours, give or take, we got the big game coming on.
Yeah, man. And for a while and this is actually, I gotta say, the first Super Bowl for me in a while where I haven't at least hated one of the teams. Like, I kind of like both teams going into this.
That is it's so I feel like this year the two best teams, truly the two best teams in the league, are playing in the Super Bowl, and that's fun. But it's also two teams that you can root for. You know, you don't have the Patriots in there that are winning every year. So you have some new teams, and obviously you'd be happy for Andy Reid, who's been in the league and has been an incredible coach for so long, but hasn't ever won the big game. And then you have Shanahan, who's just been an amazing young phenom of a coach, and you root for him as well. So no matter who wins, I'll be happy for the team, which is not something that I can say. The past 2 years, I mean, relative to when I had to pick between the Patriots and the Eagles as a Giants fan, that was the pinnacle of can both teams lose? That I was looking up like can they lose on a tie? A tie, that's fine too.
No, that's I totally agree. Like, I really want Big Red. I want Andy Reid to get the Super Bowl win. I feel like it's weird because I think a lot of Eagles fans out there have been like, why should we care about Andy Reid? I'm like, he gave us a lot of great years. I mean, he made Eagles football relevant again. Like my whole childhood with Eagles football, we were one of the best teams always because of Andy Reid. Like, he made that team legit. We were in so many NFC Championship games, going one Super Bowl. I mean, never winning the big one, but I mean, those were some good teams under him. So I have to root for him to finally get over the hump and win this.
Yeah, that's crazy. If you're an Eagles fan, you have to be an Andy Reid fan. I mean, he made you guys relevant for so long. I mean, he never won the big game. He always would hit a roadblock in the playoffs. But Andy Reid did so many great things for the Eagles. And I actually do forget. Did Chip Kelly replace Andy Reid?
Yeah. Isn't that fucking crazy? Chip Kelly.
I mean, come on.
Was the first coach after Andy Reid.
The grass is not always greener.
Oh, I know.
I guess that's
definitely
relevant for the green.
You know what's crazy too? If you imagine, remember the first week when Chip Kelly came in, right? They played the Redskins and they absolutely dominated, and we were like, well, thank God we moved on from Andy Reid to this guy. Fast forward to 2 years, and we're like, holy shit, this is awful.
Yeah, no, Andy Reid is certainly a better coach. Yeah. Hot take than Chip Kelly.
Yeah, right, exactly. Oh my God. Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, I think it's easier for Eagles fans now to maybe root for him because we have the Super Bowl. I think what stung for so long with Andy Reid was that we invested in for so long thinking he could get it done, get us that Super Bowl win, and it's not his fault. We couldn't get it done. He really pushed it with the great teams. Just unfortunately went against the Patriots that were cheating that year. But I think now that we have the Super Bowl win, I think it's a little easier for us to want him to get it. I think if he won the Super Bowl before the Eagles won the Super Bowl, that would have been a tough pill to swallow.
I can understand that. That makes sense. You want to root for him, but you still want to get that chip before he does.
Yeah, exactly. You want the team to get it before him. But no, I'm so excited. The 49ers did. So I guess getting a little more focus on the game itself. I think we should break it down in position. We'll kind of say which team we think has the advantage when it comes to the position. But what I'll ask now, just off the bat, who is your favorite going into this? Who do you think's got the edge overall?
So I think when you look at the supporting cast, which means everyone but the quarterback, hands down, the Niners have the better team. I mean, they have an absolutely explosive defense. Their running game, which is buoyed by their incredible offensive line, is the best in the league by far, if you ask me.
Yeah.
But in a league that is governed by quarterbacks, I think you have to look at the transcendent talent that Patrick Mahomes is, and you have to give the Chiefs the advantage. I mean, even if it's a small margin, I think it really is a coin flip kind of game, which makes it all the more exciting. but I just have
Yeah.
to give Patrick Mahomes the edge because he is just next level, future NFL great quarterback, the next Tom Brady, Peyton Manning type. So I'm excited for the game, but I think you got to give the edge to the Chiefs.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. When you have, I think it was like a stat when you have the top 5 offense, when you have a top 5 offense versus top 5 defense, it's almost like the defense wins out almost 80% of the time. It's crazy. So, I mean, if we're going by historical stat and everything, technically defense should be the one that wins this game, which obviously puts the 49ers on the edge. But like you said, I like the offense, man. The Chiefs have been down now 2 weeks in a row. They've been down early, and they still come back and win. And I think that shows that they're never out of this game. And just the talent they have, Mahomes being able to keep the play alive, even against good defenses, he's able to keep the play going. The receivers have good communication with him when he's outside the pocket. So we'll see. But like the betting line right now is minus 1.5 points in the Chiefs' favor. Like that's how close it is. It's crazy.
Yeah, any betting line that's under 3, it really is a coin flip.
Oh yeah, 100%.
You can't assume the game's going to end with a 1-point win by the Chiefs. So I mean, the winner is going to go and take the money line. But what I like about this game especially is that you have 2 incredible teams that couldn't be more different.
Yeah,
right. You have the
100%.
Chiefs, who have the most dynamic pass offense in the league. And I mean, I think in the Texans game when they were losing, by 20 or something points at half.
Yeah.
They ran 31 pass plays to only 6 running plays, which just is not a recipe for success in today's NFL. And with Patrick Mahomes, I think they scored 7 consecutive touchdowns when they had that ratio. So
well, and that's the thing. It's like Andy Reid loves his pass-heavy offenses, and I will agree that normally you want to see someone run the ball and like run the rock a lot. But for example, Lamar Jackson, the Ravens, they were so good, but when they made it have to go to Lamar Jackson, he threw over 50 times in that Tennessee Titans loss. When they were like, we need you to win, Lamar Jackson, the recipe wasn't there. They needed to run the ball. Instead, they started throwing. And I think, like you said, it's fascinating to see that even though they're clearly throwing the ball more, it's still so successful because Mahomes just somehow, like, he makes it work.
Yeah, and that's what I wonder about the Niners is if they get down by a couple touchdowns early, then can Jimmy Garoppolo put the team on his back? Can they rely on maybe a 2-to-1 pass to run ratio with Garoppolo leading the team, or are they going to be hamstrung because they need to pass the ball, but they don't really have that ability if they're not running for 8 yards per carry? And that's what I wonder. But in that Saints game, the Saints Niners game, the Niners won a shootout. So I mean, you really can't doubt them on that merit. So it really is a coin flip to me.
Well, that's the thing, and that's what's shocking is that Jimmy G we've seen him win when he needs to. When the ball's put in his hands, he's won the game on throwing, and it's happened. But obviously, their formula is riding the hot hand. So I will say Jimmy G can possibly win the game for the put in his hand. But what worries me about the 49ers offense is the mentality of like, we need to go with a hot hand and running back, right? Like whoever's doing well was Tevin Coleman 3 weeks ago. It was Mostert obviously 2 weeks ago in the championship game. But like, what happens if the running game isn't there and there's no hot hand? Like, who do you go with? How do you and that concerns me with their strategy on offense for sure.
Right. I just feel like it doesn't matter. I think that is more the takeaway is that it's not the running backs that are the best part of that run game. It's the offensive line. I think I could get 5 yards per carry running behind that offensive line. They're just so dynamic. The holes they open up it's incredible. So that's really the key of the game. Can the Chiefs run defense just hold the Niners to just maybe 5 yards? If they can hold them to 5 yards per carry, I think they win this game. I mean, in past games, I think against the Packers, the Niners had like 8 yards per carry.
Yeah.
You can't lose if you have 8 yards per carry.
Mostert was averaging 7.6 yards per carry.
Unbelievable.
Like, that's crazy. Like, that's what I was saying in my last episode. I was like, you give the ball to Mostert twice and you have a first down plus more. Like, it's crazy what he was doing. 220 yards alone on the ground. Like, that's effed up. So
4 touchdowns.
Oh my God, dude, he was a beast.
It's
that
a
game.
fantasy dream right there.
Oh, if only, dude, he was doing that in regular season. Oh my God. It's okay, man. I'll be riding next year, Derrick Henry, and we'll see how that goes. But yeah, I think all right. So let's break it. Let's break this game down a little more. We'll go position. Kind of see each for edge in it. So we'll start. Obviously, I think a good point you said. O-line. I will of course give you the 49ers. Your take as well. 49ers.
Yes, but not as big of a gap as you might think because I think the better passing offensive line is a pass blocking. I think I'd give the edge to the Chiefs, but I mean when it comes to run blocking, it's not even close. So I think the edge goes to the Niners, but still a good line from the Chiefs.
I think that's the thing. I'd say the Chiefs line's not bad. I think the problem I have with the Chiefs line is that it's not clean pocket all the time, right? Like Jimmy G, you see, gets a clean pocket a lot. The run game is good. They're able to get the big holes in the gap. The Chiefs O-line, I feel you see a lot more Mahomes going outside. You see Mahomes under pressure, but he's able to make it work. So I think based on that, their line is good enough, but I have to give it the edge to 49ers, so agreed there. Next one I'll do that I want to talk about is what kind of bigger scheme. We'll say the secondary. I'm going to give the edge in, actually for me, secondary. I think who's been playing the best right now. I'm going to say Chiefs. I think they're coming in hot in the secondary.
Yeah, I actually agree with you there. I think the Chiefs had the better secondary. I think Mathieu is one of the best safeties in the league. I feel like the Chiefs, which, their Achilles heel the past few years has been that defense, namely the secondary. And I think that this year they've really stepped up. They've added a few pieces in the offseason, and I think that the Chiefs actually do have the edge in the secondary.
Yeah. So and then I guess the next one would be for that defense, the front seven. I'm giving the edge to the 49ers for sure. I mean, Nick Bosa alone scares the crap out of me.
Yeah, Nick Bosa looks. I want to disagree with you here at least, but somewhere. But I actually do agree there. I think that the Niners. I mean, it's hard to disagree with the stats there. The Niners have had the best line in the league, anchored by Nick Bosa, who it's kind of scary to think that he's only a rookie.
Imagine what he's gonna do.
Yeah, I mean, he's clearly on a Von Miller type trajectory. So I'm excited to see what the future holds for him. But yeah, I'm gonna give the Niners the edge there. But like I said, similar with the line, it's nothing to snuff at on the Chiefs side. I mean, Frank Clark has been an absolute dynamic player for the Chiefs, great addition in the offseason. And the Chiefs, if it wasn't for Dee Ford, who is actually on the Niners now, lining up offsides in the Patriots game last year, the Chiefs would have been in the playoffs. I think they would have beaten the Rams, or they would have been in the Super Bowl. So, it's two good units, but I think I'm going to go with the Niners.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, it's very interesting. I mean, I think the Chiefs' defense has gone so much better since the beginning of the year, and I made a point last week where I was saying, clearly you see that for a long time we believe the Chiefs their defense keep up with their offense, and we're seeing now their defense can actually be locked down. We've seen them hold a running back like Derrick Henry, who went from 190 then 180 yards in 2 weeks to 67. So I think there clearly is a great defense emerging in the Chiefs, but obviously edge the 49ers for now. So then I'll move on. Next one, running backs. Who do you have on that one?
See, for me, this really goes back to the line. I think that if I were to start a team, I would probably take Damian Williams. I think he's the most explosive running back on either team. But it's
raw talent, yeah.
In talent, but I think the running game, you have to give the edge to the Niners. But, because that line is so good. But, yeah, I think on talent alone, if you're just isolating the running backs by themselves, I think I'd rather have Damian Williams over Raheem Mostert or Tevin Coleman. I think that he's a better player.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's interesting. I'll take 49ers and say run game. If I were to say run game, I would take 49ers. But when I say running backs, I have to go as well. I think the Chiefs have more talent, more speed, and also running backs that get open in the pass game really well. Since the game of the Chiefs is passing, their running backs really fit well with that format. So I would say talent alone, I would go Chiefs, but in a running game scheme, clearly just from what we've been seeing going on, the better running team is the 49ers. I mean, they actually do run the ball versus the Chiefs.
And it's almost the kind of thing like I almost can't answer that question. I want to see those running backs on other teams before I make a decision, because how are you going to make a decision on that when the guy running the ball is only a small part of the run game? For both of these teams, it's the lines that really make the difference.
100%, could not agree more. So then if we move on from that, 49ers, we kind of a split on it based on talent versus run game. The next one, wide receivers. I give edge to the Chiefs. What say you?
Oh, this one's not even close.
Yeah, right.
Wide receivers. So I guess the real question is tight end. But if you're gonna do receiving core, I still do the Chiefs.
We'll do wide receivers first, then we go tight ends.
Yeah. So wide receivers. I mean, it's Tyreek Hill some more. He is the most dynamic player on either of these teams. He is the fastest. I actually heard something interesting recently. He is going to try out for the U.S. Olympic track and field team, right? I heard something about that.
I didn't know that, but I know he was a track star, so that would make sense.
I mean, he is there's a gap between him and the second fastest runner in the NFL. He is next level. He earned his name, Cheetah.
And that's me. And what's amazing me too is what I always thought was Tyreek Hill was just speedster, right? But what I've seen over the last few weeks is very an intellectual game to him as well. Like he gets so when Mahomes gets outside the pocket, you'll see Tyreek Hill come back to him and get open. You can go along with Mahomes. So there's a communication and a link between the two that I find very interesting and at a second level for that type of situation. So I do like Tyreek Hill a lot because I think he's evolved into both an intellectual and talented wide receiver as well.
Right. I mean, the scramble drill has meant so much for Mahomes.
Yeah.
I mean, he'll get outside the pocket, get a few extra seconds for his wide receivers to get open, and it's always, Tyreek Hill finds a way to get separation, and they just have that backyard football mentality where they're just running around trying to find an open lane, and it seems to work for them a lot. So I think that does attest to Tyreek Hill and Patrick Mahomes' connection, and that shows a cognitive ability to understand what your quarterback wants you to do when you're not running the route that you were play called in, right? So he's just finding a way to get open, and then they're somehow on the same page, and it works out. So. You got to give respect to Tyreek Hill, not just for his physical prowess, but also his mental ability to understand what Mahomes wants him to do.
Yeah, 100%. And I think that's the thing. When you have a team like that where you have Sammy Watkins, Tyreek Hill, McCole Hardman, and Demarcus Robinson, I mean, you just can't cover man coverage. So I think they will obviously have the edge going in. We'll see if that, if they keep with the passing game, how that works against a good defense like the 49ers. So then we'll go finally to tight ends. And before we get to quarterbacks, we'll go tight ends. Who do you have? Because I think that's one of the most evenly matched up between the two teams in an all-star with Kelsey and an all-star in Kittle.
Yeah, so I think this one's really interesting, and I would break it to two components, because when you're looking at the best receiving tight end, it's Travis Kelsey. I don't think it's much of a question. I mean, George Kittle is the second best receiving tight end in the league, but Travis Kelsey is just next level talent-wise. But that's not the only role of a tight end, like it might be for a wide receiver. It is also about blocking the run, and that's where George Kittle really separates himself.
Yeah.
He's an
a
absolute dynamic
guy,
run blocker, and that's really not what Travis Kelsey does best. So, I am a huge Travis Kelsey fan, and this is actually hard for me to say, but I think if I was building a team from scratch, given how important it is to be able to run the ball and how important it is for your skill position players to be able to block, I think I would actually go with George Kittle because of that ability.
I mean, I stand by that too. I think you're right. I think Kittle has the physicality of Kittle is incredible. But so while you're going with that with building around, I still think I give the edge to Kelsey because I think while Kelsey's not a great blocker, he can get the job done enough. And I think in the open field, I mean, he's just so dynamic. I mean, when he catches it, he's so athletic where he get the ball, he can run every route. The yards after the catch are incredible. So I would say my edge definitely goes to Kelsey on that one for sure. All right.
I have no qualms with that.
Yeah, right. That's what I mean. It's like either or, you're getting a great tight end.
Absolutely.
And then finally, we're gonna go quarterbacks. Who's got the edge, Dillon? Right?
I think Garoppolo. No, I'm just kidding. Obviously, Mahomes is by far the better quarterback. So I give the edge to Mahomes there.
Yeah, I mean it's hard to go against Mahomes. We've been talking about it in almost every different position we break down. We talk about how Mahomes impacts that position or how it will be to cover him. So clearly, that's the guy you have to worry about coming into this game. I love Mahomes' game. I think he's a better Russell Wilson because he can move around, get in the pocket. His arm strength is incredible. He can throw it in any position he's in. So I have to go. I mean, Jimmy G's a nice quarterback. He can get the job done, but I still haven't seen Jimmy G get to an elite level. And maybe he'll get there. I don't know.
Yeah, I agree with you there. But the one thing I'll say about that is that Jimmy G is the perfect quarterback for the Niners team, the way they're assembled. They
100%.
don't need a Patrick Mahomes. I mean, obviously they would be better with Mahomes, but they don't need to have someone that is able to pass the ball 50 times a game or wants to pass the ball 50 times per game because Jimmy G has that kind of selfless mentality. I mean, I think the Niners in last 2 weeks ago in the championship game threw a couple times, 8 times. I mean, that is not a recipe for success in 2019, 2020 NFL.
Yeah.
But Garoppolo is willing to hand the ball off 30 times per game, 40 times per game because, I think he understands that the system that he's working in San Francisco is built around the run. And so he's a complementary quarterback, and that's kind of a rare thing you have in a really dominant team in today's NFL. So I think it's respect-worthy in that sense.
Yeah, I think so. And you know what? He's a smart quarterback. He works in the system. I think he's got a good coach in Shanahan to really help him evolve into a great quarterback. So I agree. I think he fits the system well. I think again, he's we've seen in the season when he needs to throw the ball right, he can he can get his targets. And also with not a very talented wide receiver core, like we obviously lauded the Chiefs and how they are obviously the better wide receiver core, but like he doesn't have many people to throw to besides Kittle. I mean, you have Sanders and you have Debo, but like there's not much else that's like I would say elite in that wide receiver core.
Yeah, neither Emmanuel Sanders or Debo Samuel are wide receiver ones traditionally
Yeah.
on a Super Bowl team, right? So I mean, they're both very solid, second wide receivers, but it's rare to see a team come into the Super Bowl and not have that elite wide receiver. And so it says a lot that Jimmy G is able to do what he
Yep.
so much with so little. I think they're nothing to snuff at. I think they're both good players, but like I said, they're just not the elite caliber wide receivers that you're used to seeing
Yeah.
in these kind of games.
100%. I mean, I think it's going to be either way. We got all these different positions that are great. I mean, I think based on how we broke it down, it shows why the game is only a 1 point spread. Like we even now with all the positions, we are almost split. It's like 4-3. So I think there's obviously I give the edge to Chiefs, but it is going to be a close. I think it's going to be an exciting game. It's not going to be like last year where it's like 13-10. So let's we'll at least have an actual Super Bowl, which would be nice.
Yeah, I hope it's not 13-10.
Oh my God.
That's never exciting. But
No,
you know what I
exactly.
will say about the Niners
Yeah.
is that I think that they are a team that's better than the sum of their parts. And I really attribute that to Kyle Shanahan, who has taken, they're not like miscast players, but he has taken guys from around the league. The Niners came into this year with what expectations? Maybe 8-8, probably 7-9, 6-10 type
Yeah.
of team, and they've just been absolutely dominant. And so with the talent profile that this team has, they are just so much better than what their parts would indicate. And that's why, as
Yeah.
great of a coach as Andy Reid is, and this almost is disrespectful considering that he's been doing it for so long, I think that Kyle Shanahan is the next great coach in the NFL. And I actually give the coaching edge to the Niners because Kyle Shanahan does such a great job. And it's not his first time. Obviously, he built a great Falcon. I mean,
Yeah.
he was part of a great Falcons team a few years ago. And so I give a lot of respect to Kyle Shanahan, and I think that he is
Right.
the better coach in this game.
I mean, that's a great point. I think, I say better coach. I think, Andy Reid's got the experience, so maybe I give him the edge right now. But you're right. I mean, this is probably one of the most dramatic turnarounds for a team in a long time. No one expected the 49ers to get the Super Bowl by this year. We thought maybe in 2-3 years they could get there. They could build a team around it. This year has been absolutely amazing. Dynamic. And think about also the beginning of the season when the 49ers were like 6-0, 7-0, and we were saying, oh, there's no way. This is just a fluke of who they're playing. But no, they're an actually good team. And it's amazing that they've gotten there so fast.
Yeah, right. I mean, I believed in the Niners early, but you're always waiting for them to come back down to earth. They've
Yeah.
won a bunch of games, but eventually they'll even out at what was probably worthy of a 10-6 type team. But they're not. I mean, this is not a fluke season. They've not only beaten opponents, but they have dominated a lot of teams. I mean, they
Yep.
dominated the Packers, and the games they have lost, they've lost by a close margin. So I mean, it's not a fluke in any sense of the word.
Yep. Well, then I think after talking about breaking down the position, taking our edges here, I gotta say before we finish this episode, this Super Bowl special, Dillon, gonna ask for your pick and a score to end the Super Bowl, and who will be standing on top with the Lombardi Trophy.
All right, so like I said, I am taking the Chiefs, and I think that this comes down to the last play of the game. I'm going 31-24 Chiefs.
Oh man. Well, I'm gonna agree with you. I think the Chiefs win this one. I think Big Red gets his first Super Bowl. I'm gonna go. I think it might score even higher. I'm gonna go with 35-31 in favor of the Chiefs. I think it's very close. It could even be close to like 35-32. I think it'd be very close this game. So it should be really interesting. But yeah, again, I think the over/under right now is somewhere at like 52.5 points. So it's gonna be hopefully a high-scoring game. It should be great.
Yeah. I think the over/under like last year was like 50 something.
Oh, yeah, that was-
and that was just such a defensive-minded game, and I feel like this one, there's no way that this,
No.
both teams are eclipsing 20 points. So
Yeah,
we'll see.
100%. All right, man. Well, I want to thank you, Dillon, for joining and being the special co-host from the ChadBurn show with me today. It was, as always, a pleasure having you on to talk a little Super Bowl football. And hopefully, we'll do it later on and see how we end up after our picks for tomorrow.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me. You and Julian are killing it.
Thank you, man, so much. Well, that's it, folks. As always, we love having you listen in. This has been a wonderful time. We've had great co-hosts here with Dillon Fields. We had an awesome interview earlier with B. Reed from Two Smart Dummies. As always, thank you for listening in. If you would like to get in contact with me or ask questions or anything about the show, you can email me at chadburn.show@gmail.com. Again, chadburn.show@gmail.com. And if you want to contact me on our social media platforms, on Instagram, it's at ChadBurn Show. We have our Facebook page up right now, the ChadBurn Show as well. And on YouTube, the ChadBurn Show too. So if you like what you're hearing, if you'd like to learn more about what we're doing and stay up to date with us, give us a follow on Instagram or subscribe to our YouTube channel. We love putting this together. It's fun for us. I hope everyone has a wonderful Super Bowl Sunday and has a great time watching it. Again, go Chiefs. Let's see how it goes down. And as always, have a good evening and good night.